one rally event to go in this game, and then I think we'll get started with the extreme events, since we do have a few of those to get through. So, we've now done all but one of the rally events up to this point, and I've decided I'm going to do a double header on my choices here. As first and foremost, I think what we're going to use, we'll use both the Ford RS200 and the Mitsubishi Starion for our last two races, because I figured, well, I'm wanting to more or less get some usage out of decent rally cars that I have not used up to this point, and well, I figured this was a good time to do so. So that's why, for the first one, I am going to use the Starion. And before we do anything else, we need to get some tuning on. However, I think because we're using Group B cars, we don't really need the turbo. So, I think the only thing I really need to do is just put on dirt tyres on both this and the RS200. Because after all, they are both Group B cars. So, I think just to make this easier, just so both cars are eligible, I'm going to put dirt tyres on both of them. Just so I don't have to waste too much of your time by fiddling with the tuning. So, all I have to do now is get some dirt tyres fitted to the RS200, and then we should have everything we need. So, for the first race, I'm going to use the Starion, and then for the second race, I think I will use the RS200. Or just to make it simpler, I will use the hero car. So, using the Starion first, and then I will use the hero car afterwards. So, just one event to go in the rally events, and that is Yosemite Rally 2. This is a rally sprint race that doesn't let up the pressure for a moment. 5 laps, we pretty much know the drill by now. Okay, let's go. So the driving on the autocross course has now been done, and for pretty much the whole way in this event, we are just going to be driving on the gravel for this last one. We've pretty much done the crossover course, we're now just doing the full send rally course, as we are starting off with the Starion, and where if we win we will get 77 points, which is pretty good. And hopefully, if it's possible, this car will likewise rise to the occasion. Or at least I'm hoping it will, because, well, it's technically a Group B car. May not exactly be the best overall, but I'm hopeful in saying it has enough to at least mount a challenge. which is kind of what I am hoping for here. Definitely got more stability in this car compared to the 240 RS that I drove earlier on. So hopefully if it's possible, we can be okay with this. As I step on the brakes and up the inside of the Evo, as I now move to defend. He is on the inside of the corner, I'm on the outside. Oh, of course. Of fucking course. The game has to once again strike me with a penalty, even though I was not the one at fault for the contact. Yeah. Whilst I don't hate the penalty system, I can definitely say it's a flawed penalty system. Especially since it more or less seems to favour the AI more than it does the player. Plus, I was very much protecting my racing line, so I'm pretty sure there was nothing malicious about what I did in that instance. I was very much just doing what I was supposed to do. I was basically just holding my line. Plus, I did not indirectly crash into the Evo on that corner exit. I was doing everything in my power to make sure that was avoided. Unfortunately, I just had to get caught up in the crossfire. Even though I didn't really do anything wrong, I was pretty sure I got caught up in the crossfire. And that was ultimately what gave me the penalty. The penalty system, when it comes to rally events, I am convinced in saying it might be just a little bit one-sided. Because the AI seem to benefit from the penalty system in this game more so than me. And whilst I can say certain types of contact are penalty worthy, other types of contact, not so much. Not unless you're rubbing on your opponent. Not unless you're rubbing on your opponent. Well, what was I going to say again? Oh yeah. If it's minor contact, I think that should be fair and just, but if it's hard contact, then yeah, that's understandable, but if you're not the one responsible for the accident, then you shouldn't exactly be the one that's given the penalty. It should instead be the opponent that is given the penalty, if you're doing everything in your power to make sure you avoid the contact. Again, I think it's borderline with certain bits of contact you make, depending on if your actions were intended or not. But if they weren't intended, then well, is it really necessary to give off penalties for incidents that probably weren't deemed worthy of it? I don't know. But I definitely know it's a flawed penalty system. That's all I can say for sure. If you make contact with the AI, or if the AI decides to just make contact with you. Also, The other reason I thought about using this thing as well, because I never actually got to race this thing again in the normal rally events. Because, well, last time I raced against this thing, I basically got drilled in terms of my outright pace. This time around, however, in the Starion, I put together a winning run by 3.8 seconds. Again, I still didn't think that lap 2 penalty was necessary, but in the long run, it didn't really matter because, well, I still went on to win either way. But anyway, there we go. Another 20 grand as ours. And before we move on, I would just like to save this replay. Since I figured that is a lot easier for me to do. So, saving what is now the replay for episode 81. And now let's move on to race 2 and switch over to our Ford RS200. And for our final rally event race in this game, we are facing against the Lancia Delta HF Integrale rally car. And before we do anything else, I will of course be taking the assists off, because I don't think we'll need them. However, because this thing is powerful, I am going to keep the traction control on. I don't think we need to do any setup tweaks to this thing, like we did the 240 RS. So let's see how we go. For 5 laps around Cathedral Rocks 2. And so far, it looks like it is going well. So it looks as though for our last rally event race, this one looks like it might be pretty easy. But as ever, we'll wait and see. And as I would have expected, I get bopped with a penalty. Although I do think that one was fair because, well, I did touch that wall pretty hard in order for that penalty to be enforced. So, I'd say that one was probably justifiable, because I did touch the wall in that instance hard enough for it to be warranted. And that's a wall. I probably could have stuck with the Starion if I really wanted to, and I probably still would have won this, but the truth is, I wanted to get as much usage out of the Group B cars as much as I could, and I feel like I did an okay job altogether in terms of making sure to utilise pretty much every rally car manufacturer in this game, is what me thinks. As I'm now already probably 5 seconds up the road by now. Oh, 6 seconds of the road now. And the gap is now 7.7 seconds. And it looks as though we are doing okay here. And I get given another penalty. Again, I think that one was warranted. At least I believe it to be justified. Because I did hit that inside wall pretty hard. So, yeah, I think I'm okay with that one. Although, the main reason for that is probably because I did have a big lead. Heading into this part of the lap anyway. But yeah, it looks like we can pretty much go on what's more or less a Sunday drive. Even though this isn't exactly your normal Sunday drive. But either way, you get the point. We're basically just more or less cruising now to the point of where it looks as though it probably will be another one of those comfortable Sunday drives. And quite surprisingly, I set a new best lap time, in spite of me spinning out right before the end. I will be surprised if the Lancia does manage to get to the line before the end. Especially since I am basically pulling away now by at least a second per lap. And yep, there goes my best lap time. Or what could have been a potentially new best lap time. You know what? I think I'm okay with it. As long as I don't go for another spin. Or do that. But anyway. So, that's the end of the rally events. Is the Lancia going to get to the line before the end? No, he does. Oh, he does. Okay. So, a pretty dominant last race altogether, which is kind of what I would have expected, but either way, there we go. It's done. That is now the end of the rally events. And just before we go, I'm going to check to see that I have a replay saved. Yes, I do. And now we are going to view our final prize car from the rally events. As we have now completed the license center, the driving missions, the beginner events, the pro events, the rally events. Huh. It's the other Mitsubishi Pajero. This time the later version. Ironically, one that also has the Grand Canyon sticker on it, which is interesting. I'm pretty sure this car also competed in the Paris-Dakar Rally, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, there we go. It's done. I think we gained another 3.6% if I'm not mistaken. But either way, those were the rally events. And how far are we now from 50%? Okay, 1.5%. So we're up to 48.5%, got nearly 23,000 points altogether, and I have now driven for 578 days and over 1,400 miles. And my win ratio has moved up by a little bit. So let's go and find our Pajero, wherever it is. Should be in here somewhere. Here it is. Underneath the Escudo. The Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution Super Production. I can read. Rally Raid car. From 2003, and it sells for an identical price to the Toyota RSC Rally Raid car. So basically, every rally car we've won in the hard events, they all sell for the same selling price, virtually. But there we go. The rally events are now done. And next time, I think we'll be moving on to the extreme events. So that's what we're doing next. On now to the extreme events.